So I'm delighted to be joined today by Anita Asante. Anita, how are you?
Very well, thank you, Nick. Lovely to see you.
Lovely to see you too, and thanks for taking your time. Let me kind of. I feel this year, well, every year, that women's football kind of seems to gain more and more into the nation's consciousness and to the world consciousness. What's your feeling, and where are we with kind of women's football and kind of women's and men's football, and how things are going?
I think it's an exciting time for women's football in particular because of all the obviously rights that we have in broadcasting for the WSL, the championship, more professional clubs in both levels in WSL 1 and in the championship as well means that we not only are creating more opportunities for elite level footballers, but an opportunity to gain more visibility and raise the profile of players and clubs, as well as engage a wider audience and hopefully create some new fans along the way.
And do you kind of what's been interesting? Obviously, this got led by the success. Well, it got led over for many years, but the success of the Lionesses recently has obviously boosted profile. Has that also seeped down into the club football? And is there widespread consciousness, or do you still see it as kind of very much around the football fans?
Yeah, I think for obviously Euro 2022, Lionesses winning on home soil was massive for, just like I said, visibility, getting people to the stadiums, to a main event and across our screens. And now we're getting to see some home household names on the back of football fans' jerseys, which, I never thought I'd see kind of in my lifetime, which, I think is incredibly important to sort of reflect on that kind of progress. But of course, the success of both the Lionesses, the men, the Lionesses, the women, and the men, I
Mm.
think simultaneously has boosted the overall support for the game and actually brought on and engaged new fans who aren't necessarily football fans to begin with. They fell in love with the story, the journey, and the atmosphere of the games.
I love that. I love that. Let me ask you, kind of, Anita, for you, obviously, you're a former England footballer, had an amazingly successful career. Do you look at what's going on like with pride, with envy, with kind of I wish it'd been this much in my day? How is it for you?
Yeah,
And was that a rude question? I'm now thinking to myself, was that a rude thing? I don't know.
no, not at all. It's a question I think I get asked a lot, and I'd be lying if I didn't say I miss playing in big games. Would have been, really enjoyable. I think for myself to have played in front of masses of fans, like the
Mm,
girls are getting to do more regularly at their main stadiums for their domestic clubs and teams. But ultimately, I'm really happy that we're in a place that we are at with the game and that it's progressed and there are more professional clubs, more professional players, and a game domestically that is only growing, I think, and in terms of the audiences, but also in terms of the sponsorship, the marketing, uh,
mm.
and wider stakeholders that are invested in the game into long into the future.
So can I ask, kind of like putting my card on the table? I'm an Arsenal fan, and one of the things that I'm amazed about and very proud of is the fact that Arsenal have stuck their team into the big Emirates Stadium, committed to doing that many games every season, and almost used the mantra of build it and they will come, and the fans have turned up. Is this something that you feel kind of needs to be done more by other teams, or is it a slower burn?
I think every team is trying their best to drive audiences and engagement. Every club is having to think about it slightly differently. Like you say, you're a proud Arsenal fan. I'm a proud former Arsenal player, and I think the reason the club has been so successful in, getting audiences to the Emirates is because of the legacy of the club in
Mm,
general. I think the success of the women's and the men's teams haven't just begun in the last 5 years or 10 years. This has been a 30, 40 plus year process to that wider fan engagement. And as we know, so many football fans, it runs in families and tradition, the local community, the visibility. And I think Arsenal specifically as a club are so active in engaging with the community and finding innovative ways to collaborate with wider partners that can engage fans through shared passions of their players or the club's ethos. which is really important. I think I coached at Bristol City. Obviously, we got promoted from the Championship into the WSL, and they had one of the biggest attendances, for a newly promoted side. And they've had to do it differently. They don't have that mass audience in terms of a Premier League club, maybe to also build that foundation upon. But what they did is they opened up Ashton Gate.
Yeah.
The West Country is very much into a wide variety of sports. We have Bristol Bears, you got music events, and they found really creative ways to get the local community behind Bristol City Women. And they're a smaller club with lesser resources in terms of the finance compared to an Arsenal, but they did a really good job of engaging their audience because I think they understood who they are and how to pull them in as well.
Can I say I genuinely love that because as you were talking there, very much went through my mind. We hear a lot of our clients, companies talking about how they can engage with both their customers but also their workforce in terms of feeling part of something bigger than just like that top level brand. And almost that's what Bristol have done is actually they've looked around at their audience and engaged with the whole thing. Did that take leadership, kind of visionary leadership, or was it just a natural evolution from your perspective?
I think it takes visionary leadership. I think it takes innovators and thinkers who are willing to do things outside of the box and tradition sometimes. And I think they had a very clear understanding of who they are as a club. They knew that this isn't a club necessarily that can compete with the top three, for example, in the WSL, but they want to drive it through their younger players, through their academy, through the local community, understanding, what is the Bristol area about? It's a very diverse city. It's about food. It's about music culture. It's about art. It's about fashion. It's about all these things and utilizing all those things to engage the audience while also utilizing the shared passions of their players who equally are engaged and have a keen interest in those areas as well.
And do the players kind of in women's football at Bristol kind of, but generally, do they understand kind of that they are building something bigger than them, and it's not just about their personal success? Actually, they're trying to build a sport, which maybe is slightly different from the men's game, which of the history that's got.
Yeah, I think there is a wider consciousness in the women's game as a whole that these current crop of players are still trying to progress the game forward off the back of the path that's already been created. And I think a good example of this is you take the Lionesses
Mm.
winning Euros, then proactively lobbying the government to make sure that girls have the opportunity to play football within schools. That was an understanding of what could their legacy be. Their legacy was the wider social impact they could have off the back of that success, to create more opportunities for young girls, to let them know that they could have a potential career in football. And not just that, the wide implications of health, enjoyment, social activity, what that does for everybody, included. You see clubs collaborating on certain topics, whether that's ACL injuries, whether that's bereavement. We all go through these things, no
Mm.
matter what industry we're in. But utilizing and sharing those stories with players who are role models to so many has been a really powerful tool, I think, to engage people.
Amazing, love it, love it. Let me ask you one last question, put you on the spot or whatever. Give me your, give me your next. Give me one big prediction for yourself over what's next for the women's game.
Oh, well, the next big prediction is, well, I mean, I'm currently engaged in a really innovative tournament, the Sevens, World Sevens, seven-a-side elite football tournament. And I think from then on, our aspiration is to make sure that it travels around the world and is not just in one location, that we will touch base in Africa, in Asia, South America, and engage as many young girls and boys across the world into something that is exciting, that is generally about creativity, and hopefully will just explode. That's the.
Love that. Anita, thank you so much for your time today. Been a pleasure talking and look forward to chatting again soon.
Thanks for having me, Nick.